We do it all the time, right? We park our cars. It feels like the simplest thing in the world. But what if I told you that that little patch of pavement is hiding some massive secrets? Secrets about our economy, our cities, and even how we live our lives. Let's dive in.
Because that's the big question we're going to tackle here. We're about to challenge one of the biggest assumptions out there, the idea that the parking spot you grab at the store or your apartment complex is actually free.
And this quote from Ben Ross just nails it. The whole concept of free parking, it's basically an illusion. And it's an illusion that has these huge hidden costs that, believe it or not, affect every single one of us, whether we own a car or not.
So let's kick things off with what I like to call the parking paradox. You know the feeling? You're circling the block, getting frustrated, thinking there is no parking anywhere. But is that really what's going on?
Well, here's the crazy part. For decades, our cities have been built around these rules called parking minimums. And what these rules do is force builders to create a massive number of parking spots. Not for a regular old Tuesday afternoon, but for the absolute busiest shopping day of the entire year. It's kind of like building a giant church just for Easter Sunday, and then leaving it mostly empty for the other 364 days. It's just a wildly inefficient way to use valuable land.
And this is what you get, these enormous seas of asphalt. But when you look at this, the real question is about opportunity cost. What else could this land be? Seriously, it could be new homes, a little park, a local business, pretty much anything that gives more back to the community than just storing empty metal boxes.
Okay, so all this wasted space, it has a very, very real price tag. Let's actually break down the high cost of all this supposedly free parking.
And we are not talking about pocket change here. To build just one parking spot in a parking garage can cost up to $37,000 for one spot. Even a simple spot on a surface lot can run you over $4,000. It's staggering.
So, who pays for that? Well, that cost gets bundled into, well, everything else. For instance, in some places, forcing developers to build all this parking can add a whopping 10% to the cost of a new home. You're paying for that parking spot, whether you even want it or not. And this is where it gets really unfair, because these costs are hidden in the price of our rent, our food, everything we buy. It means that people who don't even own a car are literally subsidizing parking for people who do. Think about that for a second. Low-income families, seniors, people with disabilities, they're all paying higher prices to fund parking spots they will never, ever use. And you know, this chart just brilliantly busts the myth that businesses need giant parking lots to succeed. Just look at Trader Joe's. They are famous for their tiny, kind of chaotic parking lots. But look at their sales per square foot, almost double their competitors like Whole Foods, who build these massive, sprawling lots. It proves that smaller stores with less parking can actually be more efficient and incredibly profitable.
Okay, so we've established the problem is huge. But here's the good news. Cities like Auckland are finally starting to rethink this whole mess. They're coming up with a completely new strategy for how we use our most precious public resource, space.
And this right here, this is the big mental shift. The goal isn't just to blindly build more and more parking forever. The goal is to get way, way smarter about managing the space we already have.
And check this out. This is how they're doing it. This is Auckland's new priority list for what they call curbside space, that valuable strip of land right next to the footpath. Look what's at the top, making things safer and moving people around on buses, bikes, or just their own 2 feet. And then look all the way down at the bottom, dead last, general parking. This completely flips the old model on its head. Now what's really smart about this is that it's not some clumsy one-size-fits-all plan. The city is broken up into different tiers. In the really dense downtown core, the goal is to proactively reduce car trips altogether. In other town centers, it's about discouraging all-day commuter parking but supporting shoppers who need a short-term spot. And out in the suburbs, they'll just deal with issues as they pop up. It's a smart, flexible approach.
So what happens when we start managing our space like this? What's the big reward? Well, this is the really fun part. We start to transform our cities from spaces for cars back into spaces for people.
This is the before picture. We all know this scene, right? A street that's completely dominated by cars, where the main purpose of all this public land seems to be just storing vehicles.
And this is the after. Just look at that difference. That exact same amount of space can become a place where people can hang out, meet up, or just enjoy a walk. It becomes a real asset for the community, not just a holding pen for cars. We're talking wider footpaths, public benches, maybe some greenery.
And the end result is a place where people actually want to be.
The streets become more than just highways to get from A to B. They become destinations themselves. They're more attractive, way more enjoyable, and by getting more eyes on the street and slowing down traffic, they become a whole lot safer for everybody.
Okay, this all sounds great for the city planners, but let's bring it back home. Why should you, personally, care about a smarter parking strategy?
Well, for one thing, it is a huge deal for the environment. In a city like Auckland, a staggering 43% of all carbon emissions come from private car travel. By endlessly supplying free parking, we're basically encouraging more driving and pouring fuel on the fire of climate change. So rethinking parking is actually a powerful form of climate action.
And let's be really clear about something. This isn't some war on cars. It's not about being anti-car. It's about being pro-city. It's about creating places that have better choices for everyone, where, sure, you can drive if you need to, but you also have fantastic, safe options to walk or bike or hop on a bus. It's about genuine freedom to choose how you get around. So, I want to leave you with this one last thought. The next time you pull your car into a parking spot, just pause for a second. Look at that chunk of land your car is sitting on, and just ask yourself, what else could this be? A little cafe patio? A tiny playground? A place for a community garden? Once you start asking that question, I promise you will never look at a parking lot the same way again.